Well, we got one more week, I should say, of high school football left to go. I'm Nathan Epstein, joined by Brian Parsons, producer here at Wavy 10 and Fox 43, Andy Hilton of Recruit757.com. It is now state championship weekend. We have 3 teams from Hampton Roads, 4 from our viewing area in North Carolina. So why don't we get right into it, and let's start off with Class 6 and an Oscar Smith team, gentlemen, that, boy, they have been close. 3 straight trips, and now 4 out of the last 5 years they've made it to the big game.
7th overall trip to the state championship, I believe, for Oscar Smith. Is this the year, Andy? Can they do it? They're playing Oscar Smith 13-1. Their one loss was to Highland Springs in the season opener. They're taking on South County, who comes in with an undefeated mark, and that's against that tough Northern Virginia competition.
Yes, and they have to be happy. Oscar Smith has to be happy to be back. They lost 3 years rolling to Westfield. They also have to be happy Westfield is not against them. Now, granted, I'm sure in a way that they would have liked that challenge, but Westfield got knocked off by South County last week, which makes it perhaps even more interesting. But South County has been to the state championship game only once and has never won it. These two teams have never met.
And I think what's interesting from Oscar Smith's standpoint, here is a group that is hot and confident right now. The only loss they have this year was to that same Highland Springs team we were talking about, which has since been ousted. And then you have an Oscar Smith team that, man, Ethan Vasco, the quarterback, has really come on strong here. He made the play of the game that I was at against Colonial Forge over the weekend. 4th and 8, 5.5 minutes left to go.
From the 45?
Right.
Their own 45.
So, I mean, it seems like they got the pieces to really...
They've got weapons. I mean, you saw what Roman Copeland did on last weekend.
Roman Copeland is lightning.
Yes.
Gosh, that dude can fly.
Absolutely. And it's funny that South County team is going to look and act kind of familiar because they love to pass. Matt Dezerski is their quarterback who's racked up a ton of yardage. And here's a name to remember is Zion Dane. If you remember from Wisconsin, Ron Dane.
Oh, I do remember Ron Dane.
Power fullback.
With he and Tiki, it was thunder and lightning.
And Ron Dane, his son Zion Dane, is a senior at South County, committed to Yale, so good head on his shoulders. The kid's about 6'3", 6'4", 230, 240 pounds, built like his father. That's going to be a heck of a weapon for South County, but they're going to have pass the ball a lot. They're going to have some speed and some strength.
And something that I've heard about South County is that this team is fast, meaning they run. I think they said a really offensive
quick
play,
tempo,
like 10 a play every 10 seconds, something like that.
Yes.
So now we move on to.
Well, if you wanted to go to the game, it is 4:30 Saturday at Hampton University.
And the beautiful
right
thing
in our
is,
backyard.
One ticket, both games.
There you go.
4:30 and noon, because we've got
for the
local
Class 6 and
for
the
the Class
Class
6 and
5.
Class 5 at Hampton University. We have 2 local teams to root for, which segues right into Class 5.
And that segues right into our next game, which, Brian, you have watched this team all year, so I really want to get your thoughts on this.
I have seen the Morey Commodores quite a bit. Big win over Verina last week, and Morey's undefeated. They've got Stonebridge coming up. Stonebridge is 12-1. That game noon at Hampton University. I really like Morey because every time they're in a sort of a tight situation, it's the cliche where the big-time players make big-time plays.
Yep.
And
it is so evident with this team when Keandre Lambert is in a situation to carry the team on his back, he's produced.
But it's not always the same big-time player.
True.
He is not the only one.
It could be C.J. Beasley. It could be LeBourne.
It could be Day Johnson,
Who
picked off the pass
interception
that pretty much
to
ended
sealed the game
against Verina.
Granger, I think, is what his name is.
Tyshawn Granger.
Tyshawn Granger, who can fly as well. But, you know, Morey and the numbers here is what the storyline here is how long it's been. Crazy to think they haven't even been to a title game since 1972.
Yes.
And they haven't won a title game. Well, none of us were even
1937, right?
I thought it was 1939,
I think. 39, something.
Somewhere in that range.
Well
before
us.
World War II.
It was in the 1930s.
In the 30s.
But the crazy thing is the basketball team won the state championship for the first time since 1929.
Yeah, I was going to say 27.
Is this
at any rate,
the year
the year of the Commodores.
It really could be.
27, 29, whatever.
Whatever, a long time
It was
ago.
a long, long time ago.
So here the question I think for Morey is, we all know that they have the talent to do this. They've shown it all season long. When you have an undefeated record, that also speaks for itself. But the lights are brighter. This is the biggest stage, the last one. And look, Verina, no joke, they beat Highland Springs, but that was a close game.
Yes,
that
it was supposed to be a close game. And it's funny, they wanted to see Highland Springs to get some revenge for their big loss last year. Instead, they got Verina and beat them by 3 points.
So what did Keandre Lambert say when he said, I interviewed him after the game, and he said, we were embarrassed last year,
Yes.
and they put us on T-shirts.
Yes.
What do they mean by
I
that?
think I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, that they had tombstone T-shirts that had the previous losers to Highland Springs in that state semifinal, and the Morey tombstone was already on the shirt when people came to the game.
Okay,
That's
okay.
right.
okay.
I remember you telling us about that.
That's an insult.
I think we can all say, though, we're highly impressed with the job that Diary McCain and his staff has done at Morey.
Absolutely.
That is a well-coached high school football team.
Absolutely.
And an alum of Morey. I mean, this
Yes.
you have to think that this has to mean a lot to Coach McCain, considering he's from there. I actually spoke to him today, and he said that there have been alumni that have reached out to him and that have told him how much they appreciate what he's done. I mean, this is one of those career program defining moments where
Yes.
you talk about a program that is right there on the cusp.
And things like this don't make or break a program, but Cam Chancellor is also an alumni. He donated for a new weight room at Morey.
I wonder
That's been in there.
if we'll see him on Saturday.
I would not be surprised, because I saw him last year at Highland Springs when they lost to Highland Springs. And speaking of Highland Springs, as much as Morey wanted to get through Highland Springs to get to this game, Stonebridge has to be happy that they're not playing Highland Springs in this game, because Highland Springs won the last 4. 3 of the 4 came against Stonebridge.
So what does Stonebridge bring to the field?
They are going to be run first. They have a running back, Jared Cole, who's committed to UMass. That you're not going to see the typical team that would challenge Morey, but you have to believe that Mickey Thompson, the coach of Stonebridge, has game plan for this. He's lost it 3 out of the last 4 years. He wants to win this game. Anything that they can do, they're going to do. I would honestly expect, and I haven't seen them do this before, but the game plan against Morey should be to slow them down. And if they run a lot, Stonebridge is going to want to keep it slow and stay in the game and pound away at them.
Boy, is that easier said than done when
Yes,
it
it
comes to
is.
this Morey team. But we're talking about that one. Morey and Stonebridge will be a noon kickoff, also at Hampton University.
That's
So
going to be a good one.
Yes.
I like
We've got a great couple of games at Hampton. There's no
Man.
excuse for high school football fans to miss Saturday's games.
And you said the 2 for the price of 1.
Yes.
So now we go from Hampton over to Lynchburg.
That's right. Class 4, Tuscarora.
Yes.
13-1. Lake Taylor, 12-2. Lake Taylor with that crazy win over Patrick Henry, 36-35 to stop the 2-point
Defensive
conversion
stop.
at the end. You were not at that game.
No, I was at
with
the
you
other
at Morey.
two. I was
Yeah,
at
okay.
Morey, and I was at Oscar Smith with games starting at noon 1 and 2. I got 2 out of 3 in.
I tell you, man, Lake Taylor kind of living on the edge here in
Yes.
some of these games.
And they have shown, no insult to the Titans and Hank Sawyer, they have been beatable. Verina gave us the recipe for beating them, and that was with speed and deception, which I'm not so sure that Tuscarora has. That's going to be the one thing here. So there is a game plan for beating Lake Taylor this year, because this has not been their best year. Yet again, they're in the state championship game.
And it seems like one of the themes that we have going through all of these games are teams that have been there and teams that have not. You have a Stonebridge team in Class 5 that has been there 3 out of the last 4 years now, or 4 out of the last 5 now. And now you talk about a Lake Taylor team. They were in this very game last year, so they have the experience to go along with it. Now, I know that we've been saying that Lake Taylor is vulnerable, but at the same time, they were in the state title game last year, and then they've been through. Maybe it's a good thing that they've been through these games. They know how to finish at the end.
They sure do, and they sure have to believe that they're going to win, in spite of having 2 losses. They know what causes a loss. They also know how to gut out a win. Proof positive is last Saturday's game.
But Tuscarora has reclassified
Yes.
from 5 to
Down
4.
to 4.
Okay, so what?
Well, see, that's the
they're
interesting thing.
Practically a Class 5 team.
Not to revisit Highland Springs, but the Stonebridge lost to them 3 times. The 4th time was Tuscarora.
Wow.
So there's your commonality here.
Wow.
Stonebridge has been to the state title game twice. I'm sorry, not Stonebridge, Tuscarora. They have not won it, and their last loss was to Highland Springs. Their previous loss was to all things Phoebus, when Phoebus was a 5.
Where is Tuscarora, by the way?
It is in Loudoun County.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
Suburban D.C., west of D.C.
And I will say
It's hard
that
to keep up.
Yeah, right, I know.
There's a lot of schools.
And especially from Northern Virginia. I mean, it seems like we we never get the teams from like the western part of the state. It seems like Northern Virginia is just so well represented.
Well, the interesting thing is Salem, out of Salem, Virginia,
Virginia,
is a powerhouse, and they won, I believe, 3 state titles in a row. Lost last year. Tuscarora knocked off Salem this past weekend, and Salem was at home. They were favored to win. So this Tuscarora team is not to be taken
But
lightly.
this is going to be another good one.
Yes.
And that's 4:30 at Liberty University
Exactly.
at their football stadium.
Yes.
And Hank Sawyer, he's a guy that doesn't hide the ball in all this. They used last year's loss in the state title game as a motivation all year long. I mean, you talk to all those players, they said they have lived with it all season long. That's been their goal to make it back, and they were breathing fire at practice, when I visited them yesterday. So
no doubt.
I can tell you that Hank Sawyer, they're going to have that bunch fired up for sure.
And they have a simple game plan on offense and defense, and they always play the same way, and they challenge you to stop it. And offensively, they're on a veer. They're going to run it down your throat. They're going to run it down your throat and pass every once in a while. It's hard to beat, especially in the fourth quarter when you've been just run over for 3 quarters.
Nope.
And I think Jeffrey Foster has been an underappreciated quarterback for
absolutely.
Lake
Yes.
Taylor. He's had a great season.
And we can't forget about our friends down in North Carolina, Northeastern over in Elizabeth City. Now this is
You were there today.
Yeah, I was down in Elizabeth City, and I have to say this has the potential to be a terrific story. Just kind of wrapping it all around. You have a Northeastern team last year. They go undefeated. They make it all the way to the state title game. Their only loss of the year was to Reidsville in the state championship. They come back this year. They lose 3 straight games at the start of the season. First time that's happened. And I think they said like 9 years. It's the first time in 9 years that they've lost 3 straight games. So they're thinking, what's going on here? They make it back, and here they are, a chance with Reidsville right in front of them.
And before they lost those 3 games, they came into Indian River and beat Indian River at home, a Virginia Class 5 team against a North Carolina Class 2.
I was on the air that night, and I went on the air and I said, big upset, Indian River.
Not
goes
really.
down
I was
to
about to say, we were like,
Northeastern.
wait a minute.
I got some emails.
Yeah,
Let's
not
just
really.
put it that way.
And let me just say, for the edification of the
You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. It's not an upset. You'll see at the end of the year.
I'll do you one better than that. Northeastern had a hard time finding a 10th game. Indian River reluctantly scheduled them, and you see why.
So we have 4 teams of interest. We have 3 from Hampton Roads, Oscar Smith, South County at 4:30. Class 4 at Hampton University, Class 6, I should say, Morey, Stonebridge at noon at Hampton University, Lake Taylor, Tuscarora. That game is at Liberty University, and Northeastern taking on Reidsville.
That game's at Wake Forest.
Is it Wake Forest or is it NC State?
Wake
actually?
Forest.
Wake
Wake
Forest
Forest.
this year. So last year was at. We'll see if maybe
Big time venue.
Maybe the change of venue, but
Yeah, I think I'd like to see the Class 6 and 5 at a place like Old Dominion with a little more room.
Sure.
Kind of a bigger stadium. Not to take away anything at Hampton University. I just think the accommodations might be a little better at a stadium like SB Ballard Stadium.
And we'll see when those games come up for bid again, because you may remember 5 and 6 were at UVA for quite a while.
Yeah.
I have a feeling people get there early. This could be a problem getting into this game.
Yeah, no,
These games at
I
Hampton.
hope so.
They could very well fill that place up, and traffic could be a nightmare. And
They
parking
were.
could be
I
tough.
can tell you one thing. I was at the Oscar Smith games between Westfield. That stadium, there was not an empty seat in that stadium for those games.
So let's do it for both this
Palatine
time.
Field too. I mean, packed house.
Oh, it was.
last
It sure
Saturday.
was. The Varina fans traveled. It was a heck of an atmosphere.
It was fun.
So we're down to the last week of the season. One more to go, and state championships on the line. We got 3 Hampton Roads teams, 1 from North Carolina. So, Andy, it's been fun all season, and we got all summer to wait and see what happens next year. I think you're going to be around next year, too?
I will be around, and in the meantime, I'm going to do a little bit of recruiting coverage.
There you go. So you can always catch up with him on recruit757.com. He's Brian Parsons, produces everything from the Old Dominion Football Show, the Sports Wrap, Washington Huddle. He does it all. I'm Nathan Epstein, and want you to enjoy the state championship games. You can see all the coverage on Wavy TV 10 this Saturday. So enjoy the games. We'll see you later. Thank you for joining us on Wavy.com.